Honorable members, we've got 1 minute left. If I think for the first round, the question 184, we've got Honorable Paula Godsal, Kennedy,
Am
and
I audible?
Honorable Farmer, you are audible, but we cannot see you cannot see you. Your video's off. Honorable Mabilo, thank you so much.
Am I in order?
Honorable Mabilo, you are fine.
Thank you. Thank you.
Honorable House Chair, we have a quorum, and we still have a few minutes left before 2 o'clock.
Thank you, Ms. Barnes.
A few seconds.
Am I audible?
Yes, Honorable Farmer, you just don't have a video. Yeah,
Can you see my video?
yes, we see it now. That should be fine. Thank you, Honorable Ryder.
Shada, this is joining.
It's 2 o'clock. I think Honorable Ryder would want to start. And we
Indeed,
have
good afternoon, honorable delegates, ladies and gentlemen.
Recording
With our
stopped.
traditions,
Recording in progress.
the House greeting. Honorable members, I would like us now all to please observe a moment of silence for prayer or meditation in anticipation of the start of the session. Thank you. Honorable delegates, it's with a deep sense of sorrow that...
You didn't close your eyes.
Honorable delegates, it's with a deep sense of sorrow that I announce that on Sunday, the 22nd of June, 2025, Honorable Zaman Nobo, a permanent delegate who represented the Umkhonto we Sizwe Party and the province of KwaZulu-Natal in this House, passed away in untimely fashion and departed this world. During this difficult time, we wish to extend our heartfelt condolences to her family, friends, and loved ones. We shall keep them in our thoughts and prayers. May her soul rest in peace. Delegates, may I now request that we rise wherever we are sitting and observe a moment of silence in her honor. Thank you, delegates. You may be seated. Honourable delegates, I'd like to remind all delegates that the rules, in particular rules, sub-rules 21, 22 and 23 of Rule 103 apply. In accordance with the Council Rule 229, subsection 1, there will be no notices of motion or motions without notice today. Honourable delegates, before we proceed to questions, I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome the Minister of Defence and Military Veterans, as well as all permanent delegates, MECs, all special delegates, and SALGA representatives to the House. Further, I'd like to remind delegates that in terms of Rule 229 of the Council Rules, the time for reply by the ministers to a question is 5 minutes. There will be 4 supplementary questions allowed per question. The member who asked the initial question would be the first to be afforded an opportunity to ask a supplementary question, and the time allocated for asking that supplementary question is 2 minutes. The time for reply to a supplementary question is 4 minutes, and the supplementary question must emanate from the initial question. Honourable members, please keep an eye out for the timer that will be shown on the screen and will guide you in terms of the timekeeping. I now call on the Minister of Defence and Military Veterans to respond to question number 184, which was asked by the Honourable P.A. Pala. Honourable Minister, you have 5 minutes for your response, please. Honourable Minister, May we please have your response to question number 184, asked by Mr. Pala, and it relates to the implementation of the defense review. Delegates, it appears that the Minister has become disconnected from our meeting. Can I ask the table, please, to just ensure that that connection is reconnected as soon as possible? I'm told that the Minister has rejoined. Let's just give the Minister an opportunity to get the audio connected. Minister, if I can now ask you, I see you are fully connected. If I can ask you to please unmute yourself and give your reply to question number 184. Thank you.
No, thank you very much, Chair, and my apologies. The other gadget got kicked out, so I'm using a smaller gadget. If you don't mind, can I speak without the video on, because I don't trust this other gadget? I'll keep on trying on the bigger one, with your permission, Chair.
Thank you, Minister. Yes, certainly, but we would encourage you, please, to get the other gadgets up and running as soon as possible so we can see you and the members of the public can see you as well. Thank you.
Okay, I'll keep on trying, Chair. I'm sorry about it. Chair, the first question really is about how far we are in terms of, it's question 174, so I have to be sure that I'm answering the right question. So the question 184, it's about the review. It's about the review, the South African Defence Review.
Great question, yes, Minister.
Yes. So, Chair, our response is quite long, but I'll try to summarize because I won't be able to keep it within the 5 minutes. But can say, because committees must be aware that it's a very old document, but it's still the key document that informs us on how to proceed with our work. But because of challenges like defunding, we've not been able to implement some parts of the review. But what is happening is that we're using it as a base document for policy, but also for plans. So the plan, as I say, because of the decline in funding, we've not been able to roll it to the full. But in the meantime, I can report, say, that the review committee is the one that informs our policy. It does inform our sustainability strategy, but also we keep on looking at it, revise the decline, because that's where we have the policy. But in the meantime, I can say, since I came to the department, we've been revising the ministerial, the review committee to make sure that whilst it is broader, we're able to align within our budget. And there are different pillars that guide us on the work that we do on the matter. And there are 5 points. I can say the first one that we are guided by the committee is to make sure that we have measures of cost survey, which is one of the key things to say, now that we even have received our allocation letter, which puts us to where we were before. In terms of the review committee, how do we prioritize? One of the priorities we have done is to really relook. I've asked the department that for the next 3 months, they have to relook at where we can do savings for us again to be aligned to the policy. But the other thing that we are doing also is to make sure that the committee, which as I say, is a blueprint of the work that we are doing, and it informs our strategy. It helps us to reposition ourselves, but it also, now that we have AMSCO and DINEL, it's also to work with those agencies to see how we are able to continue with the work of that review committee, review a document, which, as I say, it's our pillar document, including our journey to greatness. Though it's not an officially published document, it's based on the work that had come from the review committee. So even my ministerial agreement performance is informed by it. And I can say it's a living document, but with the limitations that we have, we're not able to roll it out to the full, Chair. I want to stop at that. But as I say, the answer is the reply is very full. We can send the full document. I didn't want to do a 10-pager, which we have done within the very limited time that I have. With your permission, Chair, I want to leave it at that and take follow-up questions.
Thank you very much, Minister. Yes, and we would appreciate that comprehensive written reply at your earliest convenience. But let's pass on now. Honourable Paula, do you have a supplementary question to put to the Minister?
Yes, Chair. Good afternoon, Chair, and good afternoon to honourable members. Good afternoon to Minister and the Department of Defence officials. Honourable Minister, thank you for your elaborate response. Minister, given the decline in defence budget and the obvious need for a modern army, can the Minister give assurance to the country that the South African National Defence Force is ready to safeguard the sovereignty and territorial integrity of the Republic? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Honourable
Chair.
Paula. Minister, please, if you can reply.
Yes, Chair, without any risk of contradictions, I can assure the public with a clear heart that in terms of our internal needs, we are very confident as the Defence Force that we will be able to protect our territorial integrity, albeit all the challenges that I've set out to say. Because of defunding, we are not at the optimum level that we need to be. But we can assure you that we are at a safe level where we can protect our sea, our skies, and the land. Though, as I said, we could do with more if the budget situation changes. But for now, I can promise you, if there are floods, we're there to be able to help. If there's snow, we're there to help. There's a crisis, we're able to help. Even being able to participate in other defense activities outside our country, we're capable of doing that, Chair, despite, as I say, the current budgetary challenges that we have as a department.
Thank you very
Chair.
much, Minister. Thank you, Minister. The next opportunity for a supplementary question passes to the Honourable Gotzel. Honourable Gotzel.
Thank you, Chair, and good afternoon to the Minister. Minister,
Good afternoon.
in your reply to a similar question which I posed to you on 3 September last year in this House, you said, "It has become evident that we have to review the Defence Review and see how we live within our means, and that's what we're doing." But since then, we've seen the department continuing to host golf days, purchasing luxury vehicles for generals, and spending money on bloated foreign trips, like your recent jaunt to a military parade in Russia. All whilst the SANDF remains in freefall and is, in your own words, to the JSCD on 13 June this year, in crisis. So while you may again today, and you have already, blamed fiscal constraints on either the DA's rejection of the VAT hike, you conveniently forget that the ANC has run both the defence budget and South Africa's broader fiscal policy for 3 decades. So, Minister, you will appreciate that South Africans cannot trust that you are indeed cutting your coat according to your cloth, when your spending priorities show exactly the opposite. So, Minister, my question is, what tangible undertakings and timelines can you give this House today to show that you are indeed committed to the 2015 Defence Review?
Thank you, Honourable Gotzel. Minister, your reply to that, please.
Yes, please. Thank you very much, Chair, and thank you very much to Member Gotzel. And I think he correctly quotes me even from what I said today, that within our limited resources, we will make sure that we are able to do what we have to do. But in the meantime, it means life has to continue on specific areas of priority. One, even in terms of trips that the Defence Force is undertaking, I can assure the member that since I came, I've requested even the department to minimize traveling, but we can't minimize it to the bone that our people are not even able to go and do training and do joint exercises. We still have to make sure that our official skills are sharpened, He also raises issues about spending on cars. My understanding about those golf days are fundraising activities which are done by the different generals. But I can assure the public, Chair, even assure Member Godsell, that we have consciously and deliberately even requested the planners in the department with my deputy ministers to say, let's raid every budget and see where we can make savings so that we're able to employ more young soldiers, but also make sure that we are able to have the necessary capabilities. The time frames, starting from when we received the budget letter, which is about 2 weeks back, I had said to them, let's work on for 3 months, just see how we are going to relook and reprioritize at department. So we are hard at work to make sure that indeed we can still be aligned to the review within the means that we have, because we can't just spend when we are not sure how we're going to pay. So that process is on, and members at any other time can also invite us to ask us how far we've gone, but the process has started. And because it's not an easy process, we had given ourselves 3 months since we received the budget letter, which now gives us exactly how much we have. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Minister. The next opportunity goes to the Honourable Kennedy. Honourable Kennedy.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. Honourable Minister, in the quest of addressing issues of relevance and imbalances in accordance with oversight, managing budgetary constraints, and promoting gender equality within the Department of Defence.
Thank you, Honourable Kennedy. And then back to you, Minister.
Thank you, Chair. I hope I got the question quite right in terms of managing the gender balance in the department. I am the first to own up to say the balance equation in the department is not ideal. It's not what we would have wanted to do, but can also say, as the South African Defence Force, we're one of the leading nations in terms of representation of women in the Defence Force. To an extent that at our last Berlin conference where we had to make pledges, we even made a pledge to say, because we've made so much strides in the area of gender balance, not gender balance, but it's not balanced, I must admit, in terms of gender representation, we are even willing to share our documented experiences about what are the challenges of really women empowerment in the Defence Force, but what have we done right? And I said it's not even only about representation that we are concerned, but it's also about participation in the different activities of the department. Even in terms of expenditure, I said our expenditure should also reflect a gender empowerment program. It may be that for now, very few women are involved, for instance, in the defense industry, but we have to be conscious and deliberate and make sure that we support women who have shown interest or capability to participate in that space. So I can assure the member that it is a matter that we're paying attention to, and it is, as I say, also our pride that we're amongst leading nations in the world in terms of women empowerment and women participation. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. The next supplementary question on this first question will be from the Honourable Nzimande.
Thank you, Deputy Chair. Thank you, Minister, and good afternoon. Taking from the words of the Minister, she is indicating that owing to the decline in funding, they were unable to roll out the 2015 review. And that is against, obviously, the intent of the document. The size will have to be dealt with, and also the equipments, which some of the equipments of the SNDF have aged or are aging. How can the minister then say there is no threat or a challenge? They are still able to protect our territory when she, on her own, accept that they will want to now shift the funds so that they are able to deal with the review document intent. Are there any other measures also that the minister has taken to ensure that we get additional funding so that we address what the document intended to achieve? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Nzimande. And Minister, over to you for the reply, please.
No, thank you very much, Chair, and also thanks to Babu Nzimande. Chair, I want to repeat what I've said before, that in terms of our current needs as a country, our sea, our skies, and our land, we are confident as the department that we will be able to defend our country. And there's evidence to that for the mere fact that as a country, we are even able to send in peacekeeping forces, quite a number of them were there to assist in Mozambique, were there to assist in the DRC. We participate in a number of peacekeeping forces. We will not even be able to go there if we had zero capacity. So we're saying, yes, there are challenges, and that I want to repeat upfront. We should be somewhere. For instance, the member mentions a question about a refreshed young force. We had hoped to recruit 10,000 a year. But because our funding does not allow us, we have reduced to 5,000. And that's what I'm talking about. So it doesn't mean that we're not doing anything. We have a crisis and therefore we're not moving. We are supposed to improve our capabilities. I can assure members that we continue to procure. You would have had reports from AMSCO, we continue to procure and repair. But we're saying we could do with more money. But it doesn't mean that nothing is happening and therefore we're sitting ducks as a country. Anybody can walk all over us. No, we're confident that as a defense force, we will be able to protect our people and also protect our country. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Minister. That concludes question number 184 and its supplementaries. Minister, we're now moving on to question number 177. Question 177 was asked by the Honourable Godsell and relates to the operational readiness of the South African Air Force.
Yeah. No, Chair, let me thank the question again from the member and say it's something that we've also constantly repeated, that if it's one area where we experience lots of problems in the Air Force, and we are, and I forgot to mention with the other member, that we are engaged with both Treasury and also the Presidency to make sure that we can salvage what we have. We have a number of our planes that are off, but we also have we have a number of planes that have gone for servicing. So we are struggling with the Air Force, we are bleeding, but we are not finished. We still have capabilities. That's why we're even able to go and fly into the flooded area, take in helicopters. So we do have the capacity, but it's not up to the level where we should be, and are doing everything in our powers. The process of procuring other capabilities, repairing capabilities. So there is progress, and there is a process to make sure that we can arrest the decline, not to go any further. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Minister. Honourable Godsell, do you have a follow-up question that you would like to ask?
Thank you, Chairperson. I do, and I took it that the Minister says that the SA Air Force is not fully operationally ready. And Minister, in light of this confirmation, can you tell this House why, in the midst of a 7.7 billion rand shortfall over the next 3 years, and a recent admission by the South African National Defence Force that South Africa could be in breach of international treaties due to the South African Air Force's failure to meet its search and rescue obligations, the department is prioritizing the 415 million rand which is needed to maintain the presidential BBJ and the Falcon fleet, whilst key air defense and transport platforms remain grounded, and which frontline capabilities are being, and which frontline capabilities are being cut to fund VVIP travel.
Thank you, Honourable Godsell. Minister, if we can ask you to respond, please.
Okay, no, thank you very much, Chair, but let me also thank Member Godsell for the follow-up question. And I want to get to the PPJ 40 because the president has to travel. He has to be in parliament, he has to be everywhere as our chief of defense. So I'm not sure whether we're expected to ground the president not to go. But I can repeat, Chair, that we are doing everything in our power. I've just indicated that we're even in the process of procurement. But to say the Air Force is completely dysfunctional, I didn't say that. I said the Air Force has challenges. We have lots of aircrafts that need repair. There are lots of aircrafts which we should still procure. And the last time we gave a report, we gave a whole list of those aircrafts that are still functional, that are still looking after our sovereignty and our safety as a country. I can repeat that because the public may not know for sure recently where did we fly. Even when we were in the DRC and experienced problems, we used to send in our own planes cargo to the area, food to the area, through our own planes. So we are not completely out of circulation, but yes, we are challenged. But now to say the president, then we have to compare the capabilities to the flying capacity of getting the president of the country, who flies also in a very old aircraft. When you look at what presidents fly in, I think it's a disingenuous comparison, because it means you have to ground the president, get him to go into commercial. And I'm not sure, as the head of the state, how does he function if he has to move at the pace of all of us? So it's incomparable. But Chair, I can assure the public, I can assure the House, we are doing everything in our power to keep our forces in the sky. That we are going to be in breach of international, I'm not sure about that, but I can assure you and can assure the public that we are working very hard to make sure that we stay afloat, we stay in the air, and continue to confront our challenges and to work very close with Treasury and our arms, like your arms corps, your Denel, to make sure that we fight. Actually, in closer, I can tell you, even from Denel, with all their challenges, the air facility, it's the most functional, and it's even able to service other countries and service the private sector. So we really have challenges, but we're not necessarily completely dysfunctional. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Minister. The next opportunity for supplementary question passes to Honourable Nonkonyana.
Chair and honourable members, honourable Minister, thank you very much for a candid and honest response to the question. As the ANC, we are confident that this department is in your capable hands, and thanks to you and the leadership of South African Air Force. We agree with you, Honourable Minister, that contrary to the DA's figment of imagination, South African Air Force has challenges, but only challenges. This is not doom and gloom. Arising from your response, Honourable Minister, what alternative measures has your department taken to ensure that the South African Air Force delivers on its mandate? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Nonkonyana. Back to you again, please, Minister, for a reply.
No, thank you very much, Chair, again, for the opportunity to respond. Member Nonkonyana is right. I'll be the last person to mislead the public and say, yes, we are flying 100%, we don't have challenges. We own up to those challenges. But we are also, as I say, in Denel, which now we're focusing on Denel to support the department even more. The air section, the airplane section is the most functional. They're continuously able to service, so that even the president's plane, which sometimes has lots of breakdowns, that section of Denel is able to service it. But what we have also decided to do, Member Nkonyan, we have a very strong defense industry in the country, and our strength is also dependent on them. So we work very close with them. If we're unable, for instance, to fly and we have to fly, there's a strong industry which we work on. But I can also say through the partnerships that we have in BRICS, to Member Kotsal, who really constantly has grudges that I went to Russia to celebrate the end of the Nazi rule in Russia on my way to Berlin. It's not even mentioned that I was on my way to Berlin, but that as it may be. We work very close also with our partners in BRICS. We work close with Russia. We work with Brazil, because they also have a very robust Air Force industry. Those partners are also there on board to assist us, let alone that our old partners, for instance, our partners, the Germans, the French, and the Americans are also assisting us to keep in the air. So the main thing is to make sure that we have the funding to fund all these other efforts that we have. But as I say, we have partners, both traditional partners and new partners, but we have a very strong defense industry as South Africa, which also assists us to stay afloat. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much, Minister. The next opportunity for a supplementary question will pass to the Honourable Member from the Western Cape, representing the Economic Freedom Fighters. That's the Honourable Gericke.
Thank you, Chair, and good afternoon, Minister. Minister, given that the South African Air Force is currently facing an operational crisis with aircraft availability at low levels across all divisions, and that the Air Force alone faces billions of rands in funding shortfall for maintenance, what measures have you put in place to deal with maintenance backlogs which compromise the force's readiness? Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honourable Gericke. And your response to that, please, Minister.
No, thank you very much, and thank you very much for the question, Member. As I indicated, that indeed what we have prioritized is to fix what we have, so that as we procure new aircraft, which are going to be extremely expensive, those that we have that are serviceable are under service. So we're ramping our performance both from AMSCO, because one of the biggest problem of AMSCO is funding. But besides funding, the other big problem that AMSCO has is the security to secure spare parts from our traditional partners like France, Germany, and America. So again, that we're trying to really help AMSCO and make sure that our partners deliver. So our priority is to repair and fix those that are repairable, whilst we're looking at procuring more planes. But the biggest thing, Member, as I said, it's getting some bit of funding to get even AMSCO to perform the way we expect it to perform. And on an ongoing basis with the Minister of Finance is to look at where we can get resources. And we do hope that after we have settled the budgetary process, the Minister had promised that he'll go back and see again if there are other areas where we can get money. I'm already, amongst other things, negotiating with the Minister of Finance to say with the repatriation, as we look at the costing, we are likely to save sizable amounts. At the right time, through government processes, we will come and request for ready environment to enable us to service those aircrafts that are in service, which we are not able to pay for fully. So we're looking at different means, as I say, to get more money, to ramp up the performance, but to also make sure that we can get more support from our partners, both the traditional partners and the BRICS partners, to help us to get out of this quagmire that we find ourselves in. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Minister. From the Western Cape, we now go to the Free State. The member from the Freedom Front Plus is the Honourable Briot.
Thank you, House Chairperson. Madam Minister, I have a suggestion with regards to the president not being able to be grounded. He can use commercial airlines like the rest of us do, and like I believe he used to do in 2018 and 2019. Also, in terms of our functionality with Denel through you, Chair. We heard from them on Friday during our joint standing committee on defense that they had lost contracts, for example, Egypt, because they were not functioning optimally. So I really want to alert you to not necessarily misleading the House with information like that and making it seem as if we are hunky-dory. And we also know that the debacle in the DRC in January was also because we did not even have a Roy Falk there. But alas, let's stick to the question. I'm so glad the Honourable Gericke asked about the plans, about turning this around. But let me ask you this. To what extent is the current state of affairs of SAF affecting South Africa's ability to meet its international and regional security obligations? I thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Briot. Minister?
No, Chair, there's no honky-dory about it. And that's why I say we're experiencing challenges. That's why I say we are seized with dealing with the challenges. So the honky-dory, I don't know where it comes from. That we are going to ask the president of the country to be traveling on plane and wait for us at the airport, like as much as I think between me and her will not be using buses up and down to Parliament because we need to save time to us. So it's not on the table. I don't think it's necessary. It's just that perhaps the member, I don't know, I don't want to say something else. What are we doing? And I'm glad she's speaking about our international obligations, that she does recognize that we have obligations. What we are doing, and I want to repeat, we are looking at more funding, we're doing at repairs, and we are not going to ask the president to go into commercial unless there's unless he chooses to do so. So he's going to be flying in the presidential plane like all other people, and me and her won't be dumping buses to Parliament. We will be flying ourselves also as members of Parliament to be able to reach our destinations quickly. So, Chair, there's no honky-dory. We are looking at different ways, and I've mentioned that, at how we can be able to improve our performance. And I'm going to be repeating the same answer, Chair, to say we're working with the defense industry. We're looking at getting more money. We're looking at for instance, again, at partnering with our industry. That there was no ROI flag in the DRC. When I was there, I saw it. We had one of the few ROI flaggers remaining in the DRC. So what we also don't do during the period of war is to reveal all the tools you take to war. But I can say between her and me that there was a ROI flag. But it was not, for instance, part of the artillery that we had signed in, but it was part of the artillery that we took in case we needed to use the ROI flag. And by the time we came back, there was no need to use it. So, yeah, Chair, just to say there's no honky-dory, and we're not going to ask the president to fly business, but we're going to work very hard, even including the support from all different parties, to make sure that we keep our skies safe. And I can repeat for now, you can sleep peacefully, your skies are safe, and we'll be able to do any obligations internally that we need to do for the safety of our country. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Minister. We now move on to question number 179. Question 179 was posed by the Honourable Zulu and relates to improving healthcare services. If we can have your reply to that, please, Minister.
No, Chair, we can be proud that as a country, we have a defense force which owns about 3 hospitals. Your Mill 1, Mill 2, Mill 3. Mill 1 has had problems because of the infrastructure that that went wrong between ourselves and Public Works. I don't want to get into that. Mill 2 is one of the best hospitals, which competes very well with the private sector. And Mill 3, which is where our soldiers go through for even before they are deployed, even now as we're demobilizing them, they're going through the hospitals. We have all specialists that you can think of as a country, from your brain surgeons, even your severe trauma, which sometimes even other health facilities in the country cannot deal with, we can deal with. So when as I say, our biggest albatross or our challenge is around Mill 1. But it doesn't mean because we have the infrastructure problems in Mill 1, we're not able to refer our soldiers to or our defense people to nearby hospitals. Actually, through the partnership that we have with neighboring hospitals, Defense Force is keeping even those hospitals alive because they get lots of referral to make sure that our people don't struggle with any medical needs. Even when we go out on on deployment, we're able on our own as the Defense Force to pitch up hospitals that help our people wherever they are deployed. So I can assure the public to say, except for Mill 1, which is an infrastructure problem, the Defense Force is able and capable of supporting its soldiers and its military people during the moment of need. And at no stage the Defense Force is unable either to refer or to service any situation that we find ourselves in. So it is capable, Chair, and is doing well under the circumstances. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Minister. If I can ask you to just manipulate your gadget so that it remains still whilst you're talking and perhaps gives a better angle. But let's go now to Honorable Zulu for a follow-up question. Honorable Zulu?
I'm sorry, Chair. Yeah.
Thank you very much, House Chairperson, Honorable Ryder, and thank you to the Minister for her response. Minister, in light of the Auditor General's 2024 report highlighting over 230 million in irregular spending by the SA Military Health Services, what specific steps has the department taken to enhance financial management, upgrade infrastructure, and ensure reliable care for soldiers and their dependents? Thank you very much, House Chairperson, for the opportunity given.
Thank you very much, Honorable Zulu. Back to you for the reply, please, Minister.
Thank you very much, Chair. Chair, respectfully, can I keep my camera off because I'm using a handheld device and I'm not, yeah. So as I speak, I also have, so please, Chair. No, Member Zulu, you're quite right that, as I said, the infrastructure is a main issue. The Deputy Minister has been tasked to work on all the audit findings to say what is it that we have to do as a department to take corrective steps to make sure that we don't have a repeat of especially a fruitless expenditure. There have been areas where the department has been quite negligent in terms of the expenditures. One of them will be overstocking medication, and then before its use, it has already expired. So we're looking systematically in all the areas that have been flagged and that ourselves, even as a department, are picking up, which led to the funding with the findings of the Auditor General. So what we've done, Futhi Babuzulu, is to make sure that the infrastructure, hence there's this pull between us and public works, where our view is that if we take responsibility for our own infrastructure and maybe ourselves be the ones that commission out, because what would have happened at Mill 1, we had public works commissioning work on our behalf, and quite a number of challenges occurred. So the department feels that, or it's of view, and it has been approved by Parliament, that it should take responsibility for its own maintenance. It should, as I say, fast track, especially Mill 1, to resolve the matters in Mill 1. And I think we're beginning to find each other with Treasury to say, instead of maintaining an old hospital like Mill 1, which in terms of the new health regulations does not qualify, we might want to do a fresh start, but it's something that we're engaged with Treasury. And our view is that if we're able and are allowed to do that, in 2 or 3 years, the department should be out of the red. But unless we are allowed to take certain measures which are not necessarily, which have not been approved by Treasury, were not able to do it. But Babusula, I can assure you that it's one of the things that Deputy Minister Holomisa is seized with, to really look at all the areas where we were found, including e-health, and say step by step, what is it that we're remedying? So we should be able to update you on an ongoing basis where we make progress, but we'll also report where we are finding it difficult to make the necessary progress. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Minister. Let's go now to the Honorable Madupe from the Northwest Province. Honorable Madupe. Honorable Madupe, your signal appears to be breaking up. If you just move to a slightly better position.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, Honorable Madupe, probably a good idea to turn your video off for a moment.
Okay, thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Honorable Minister, I want to appreciate your reply. We are aware of the challenges that are facing South African military health service. We are pleased to hear that the SMAS has comprehensive infrastructure upgrade and maintenance plan to deal with the deteriorated infrastructure. My question to you, Honorable Minister, is whether the department has got a contingency plans to ensure that the challenges do not affect provision of adequate healthcare service to SANDF and civilian emergency when required. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Madupe, and back to you, Minister, please.
No, thank you very much, Chair, and thank you very much, Memam Dupi, for the question and also acknowledging what we are, the ones who keep on telling the public about our challenges. It's not as if we are hiding them, because we need the public to know what our challenges are. And I think our openness has helped us also to get Parliament to raise or echo our challenges to both Parliament and the country about the need to have adequate resources. And these contingency plans which we have in place to make sure that we don't fail our people are also the plans that are sending us into even more debt, because it means we have to refer out services, whilst some of the services we could have done internally. We have to, for instance, for meal one, we have to really source out services like X-ray, which are very common services in the space that we work in, and pay fees outside that. So the contingency plans are there. They are meant to make sure that our people don't suffer or don't struggle. But as I say, they are costly. Hence, it is important that we get our infrastructure in place, or we can get our infrastructure corrected so that we don't incur the expenses that we're incurring. But Memam Dupe, I can assure you, we have always alternative plans, working with neighboring hospitals, working with the Department of Health, to make sure that at no stage we are unable to assist our members when they turn up to the different hospitals that we are running. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Minister. Let's hear again from the Honorable Godsell.
Hi, Minister. Yes, you said earlier that you are the last person to mislead this House, but on 3 September last year, Minister, you told me in the NCOP that you visited one military hospital, but that you could see nothing wrong, despite all the evidence to the contrary, like, for instance, the Auditor General's SCOPA reports and the dilapidated state of the ground and first floors. So, Minister, I do accept that you were misleading the House at the time, but because only the JSCD was recently there on oversight, and we were told, and it is well known, that your department does not have the funds to complete the 20-year-old ramp project. Seeing as you would rather take money away from other capabilities in order to rather save the president from taking a normal business class flight, and in order to help fund and resource this plan, you and the Deputy Minister have, as you've told us today, to improve healthcare services for defense personnel and military veterans, especially in one military hospital. will you give this House today an undertaking that you will introduce legislation or regulations that will assist in removing deputy presidents and their spouses, former deputy presidents and their spouses, and defense ministers and their spouses from the free-for-all that is the South African Military Health Services, so that more can be done to help those who do not have the luxury of the PARMED, Parliamentary Medical Aid Scheme?
Thank you, Honourable Godsell. Your reply, please, Minister.
No, it's good that you are a lawmaker, Member Godsell. I think you are also able to sponsor legislation. So don't tell me which legislation to do. We have the ability, we have the power to do legislation. Go and do legislation about spouses and other people. That's the last of our priorities. That I misled the people have to answer again. That I said I have been to meetings. I was. You can check on their records. That I then inspected the entire hospital and saw where there are difficulties, and especially the first floor, because I went there to see other facilities. I did go there, and at the time I went there, I didn't go to first floor because I went to other parts of the hospital. So that I misled and lied. I think it's unfortunate, and I think I really want to reject with the contempt it deserves. But the president flying, I've responded to that. That I'm going to pass legislation, please do it. And I'm sure your party will support you. You are a member, you can have a member legislation. Ask members to get out of the of permit and other things. It's not any area of my immediate challenge. My immediate challenge is that a review that you asked me about to say how far are we. And in that review, I didn't see anything about parliament and members and deputy ministers. I saw the work that we have to focus is on our capabilities, is on the rejuvenation of our defense, and that's what we're focusing on, not on persons and their spouses where they get help. So let's go to the review because that's what informs or guides the work that we do as the department. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Minister. Let's now pass an opportunity to the Honourable Treza for a supplementary question.
No, thank you very much, Chair. Minister, one of the major problems facing your department is fulfilling the mandate of providing healthcare services to the South African Defence Force and its members amidst limited resources. In light of your aging military population, which requires more healthcare support, what plans have you put in place to provide more healthcare support for them? And secondly, given the DMV is tasked with honoring and supporting South Africa's military veterans who sacrificed their lives for our liberation, what plans have you put in place to deal with the problems of those military veterans who are staying in rural areas and have limited access to healthcare, and as there is a lack of medical services for them, and what decentralization and timeframes do you have in place to cater for the military veterans who are staying there in rural areas? Thank you, Chair.
No, thank you very much. Okay.
Please proceed, Minister.
Okay, thank you very much. No, thank you very much for the question, especially the importance of the questions in terms of our military veterans. And I fully agree with you that if there are other people that we cannot fail is the military veterans. When I got to the department, I found that the delivery mode from which has been agreed by law is that the military veterans department itself will provide health support and health services. And as a member is saying, it's not reaching out adequately. So what I have requested is that we work, which we're busy doing, we work with the existing hospitals that are there, that the money that has been allocated to the Department of Military Veterans should be voted to or should be ring-fenced in sums. What is happening now, SAMS has been providing services for military veterans department. There's a ongoing tug of differences as to what is being owed. So they do support each other, but the implementation model is a problematic one. We're also working with provinces in terms of decentralization. And I can tell you, member, that for instance, in the Western Cape, where we started piloting, the Department of Health in the Western Cape, working with military too, are able to, because we will not be able to have a clinic in every place, are working with the various departments to service the military veterans, because we will not, as much as we have a big footprint, a member, we will not be able to reach every community and every township. So the main thing is to make sure that the resources for military veterans are ring-fenced and the services are found where they are. In some instances, we've been able to decentralize, like this distribution of their medication is delivered where they are, but it's a work in progress, and it's exactly in line with what you are saying, that there's no way we can fail them. But in the meantime, the implementation model has not worked well. And that's why there's a process of reviewing carefully to make sure that you don't even break what is already in place, and make sure that other provinces are doing that. Gauteng, for instance, is on board in line with the decentralization and the ring-fencing of services for military veterans in the different areas where health services are being implemented, because from mil 1, mil 2, mil 3, there's no way we can service them. Those are hospitals which can only deal with people who come to hospitals, but not for everyday services that some of the military veterans require. Thank you very much, member.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister, for those responses to those questions. Thank you, Honourable Ryder. We now move on to the next question, that is question 185, that was asked by the Honourable Nue. And the question was whether she has provided any policy directives for the recovery of the country's defence capabilities, given that the Department of Defence has experienced a consistent decline in budget allocation over time. If not, why not? If so, what are the relevant details? And two, whether a department responded to such policy directives. If not, why not? If so, what has been done? What was the response to such directives to date? Honourable Minister, your response to the question by Honourable Nue.
No, thank you very much, member. Earlier, I did indicate that after we got our budget note, but also based on previous year's budgets, we have agreed with the different planners in the department. And because we have planners for different units of the department, your Navy, your Army, your Air Force, but also different sections of the department, to help identify areas where there are wastages and areas where we can save, to be able to fund, especially the capabilities that are in service. But I've also indicated, Chair, so I gave those directives, and we have given them 3 months. We should be able to say what gives on that in that instance. But what else have we been doing? We've been working with Treasury on an ongoing basis to say, if we don't do anything now, the situation will be dire. We are still floating, but we are not able to move forward as fast as we need to. So we are engaging Treasury. I'm speaking to the presidency on an ongoing basis, but we're looking also, as I say, on partnerships with the private sector, especially, as I say, we have a very robust and strong defense industry, to see that working together with them, we can be able to improve our capabilities and improve the situation that we find ourselves in, Chair. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. We now ask Honourable Nue, do you have a follow-up question?
Thank you, Deputy Chair of the House. And firstly, let me thank the Minister in the manner in which she responded to the unfortunate, despicable comments by Honorable Gottsel and Honorable Breed regarding the President and Honorable Deputy members and members about their spouses. I'm sure they need to apologize. It was very unfortunate. If they've got nothing to ask which is relevant to the issue, they'll rather keep quiet. It was very unfortunate. Coming back to the Minister's response, thank you, Minister, for your elaborate response. It is encouraging to note that the department has positively responded to the strategic guidance that the minister gave. Minister, however, one of the critical components of any army is the reserve force. We have taken note and are concerned that the number of reserve force is dwindling, and the average age is high, and currently it stands at 49 years. Now, Honorable Minister, according to the department's report tabled before the Joint Standing Committee on Defense in March this year, 2025, there hasn't been any recruitment since 2016. Are there any plans by the department to recruit for the reserve force, considering its critical importance? Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Thank you very much, Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Nuwe. Honorable Minister, your response to that question.
Yes, Chair. Thank you very much for highlighting the importance of the reserve force. The member is quite correct. They are such a critical element of the defense because some of the reserve forces, for instance, are people or patriots that want to come in and do services for their country, and they come through reserve forces. To strengthen that unit, I've just appointed a board and a chairperson to look at all the needs of reserve forces so that even their own personal, their own challenges like the medical aid, their safety, their wear, and their ongoing training and development is happening. And some of the members who are in the reserve force are young people who would have gone to the reserve forces not because they want to be in the reserve force. Their main objective was to join the army. So they would have been trained but would not have been absorbed. But their eyes are looking at the department, not staying in the reserve force. So we have reserve force members, the older ones, patriots who want to do service and assist and bring their skills. Some of the skills they bring are not necessarily your soldier skills, but are your technical, strategic skills that people bring to the fore. In terms of recruitment, Chair, again, young people would prefer to come into the defense force when they look for work to come in the defense force. Some are in the reserve because they couldn't find space in the defense force and are on an ongoing basis phoning me to say, I've been in the reserve force forever. Can I please be given opportunity to join the department? But the point that we are making, member, which is very right and very accurate, is to make sure that even whilst we are still not absorbing some of them who have been long in the queue, we also work through, we use the reserve force also as our pool where we can get people. Because for instance, on activities which are not very permanent, like your volume code, you don't need full-time people there, but you need a trained reserve force to be able to supplement your capability, but also to give you a base from where you can train. So we're looking again at how we strengthen our work there, because it's a very important work. It's work that supplements our capability. But more important also, it is a space that allows young unemployed, but also unemployed South Africans a space to work in whilst they support the country. So the long and short, Chair and member, we are, as I say, we have appointed a new board under a very capable Iago. We have had different organizations sending people. The board now is fully constituted and it's supposed to look at issues of recruitment, sustenance, but also support for the already reserve force that we have. But as I say, 49 is nothing. We have reserve force members who are in their 60s. Those are patriotic South Africans who have been in the defense force, who want to use the skills that they have gained to be able to support the defense force. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. We now go on to the next follow-up question, and that's from the Honorable Adriansa.
Good afternoon, Honourable Chairperson. Good afternoon, Honourable Minister. Honourable Minister, we have a situation where we have lost, due to the loss of defence capabilities, we have lost soldiers
in the DRC earlier this year. In order to properly brief Parliament, you already made a commitment to come up with a proper plan within 3 months. Will you now provide a firm undertaking that you will immediately cease all unnecessary travel by yourself, your generals, and senior management, and redirect those funds towards urgent force preparation measures?
Thank you very much, Honourable Adriansa. Honourable Minister, your response, please.
Chair, the member is making unrelated matters. The loss of soldiers in the Defence Force had nothing to do with the capabilities. There is going to be a board of inquiry as to say what happened in Goma on the day of the accident, so that we don't play also on a very serious matter and link it to things that are unlinked. So let's wait for the board of inquiry, which is done by SADC. It will inform you what happened there. Because what you are saying that it's because of depleted capabilities, therefore we lost soldiers. I think it's not there. Now to say I must make an undertaking, to say what? To say we can't travel. So if there's a United Nations, which we are part of, like I went to Berlin, where 81 ministers were represented and other deputy ministers to talk about peacekeeping. I should have made an undertaking that I won't travel. I won't make that commitment because I think it will be out of order, Chair. So let's not get into space and link things that are unrelated. The fact that generals go, I'm not going to stop members of the Defence Force, because Defence Force is also an international activity. So if, as a country, the Chief of Defence is supposed to go and represent the country with other defense ministers about how they keep peace in the world, I should have made an undertaking that we're not traveling in South Africa. I don't think it would be responsible. So I'm not going to make that undertaking at all. It's unrelated, it's irrelevant to what our challenges are. Our challenges are huge underfunding. It's not the trips that I'll take to Lesotho for 5,000. No, it's billions that we're talking about. And I'm not sure the traveling that worries the member so much comes into billions that the sector wants. We need money, big money, which has been defunded of the department, not cutting off trips and other things and all small stories. I think it's really, I'll be very petty to say people can travel. We approve on the basis of the need. We just don't approve people to travel anyhow. And I'm sure these generals don't ask for permission to travel because it's nice to be on the plane. No, they do that to represent the country, and we need to be represented as a country. We're part of the international community. We're part of SADC, we're part of AU. I can't refuse when they say I have to go to AU to go and really talk about peacekeeping the continent and say, no, a member from parliament said we should not travel. Chair, that's not going to happen. I'm sorry about it.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. We now go on to the next follow-up question that comes from the Honourable Makasini.
Thank you, Chairperson. Greeting. Minister, various studies and reports have throughout the years shown that our forces are adequately and equipped with all technology and weaponry. They cannot engage in robust military exercise, and they will not sustain a long-term replacement of equipment used in foreign missions. Then what steps of intervention have you taken since you're coming into the office to ensure that this department is capacitated enough to fulfill its national and international obligation? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honourable Makasini. Honourable Minister, your response to that question.
No, Chair. Members can rest assured, every Monday, the senior staff of the department, you can phone in ×7, are meeting there to assess the situation, the environment, to do an analysis, to make sure that we are in line with the world. That we are so backward that we cannot be able to engage, I just don't know. What is our problem, I repeat, is that at some stage, National Treasury reduce money from treasury, and as a result, it affected them. I mean, 3 weeks back, about a month back, we just also launched about a huge ship that has been built in the country. We have built with members of international committees. We don't make our own equipment. So it's not as if we go to war with spears and shields. We are in line with international trends because we are aware of, so it's not as if we're not aware. We're aware of the importance of being able to move with the times for our own safety, but for the safety of the country. So I can assure the member that the whole question about the defense space is something that we're very aware and conscious of. And I want to repeat, in these shows that we go, you'll be proud to see not only the Defense Force being able to supply even the world. The last time I traveled to, is it Malaysia? We had about 3 South African companies which are servicing the world. So we're not so backward as a country that we're not even part of the international community. Everybody, it's just that the question which I didn't answer also about Denel. Everybody wants partnerships with us because of the capabilities that are in Denel. The biggest problem of Denel is that, strange, unlike other countries, our banks don't want to give guarantees for a defense or for they'll call it war. Other countries everywhere else, the countries do fund their defense industry, but our defense industry is not funded by our banks. They say it's war money, and that's one of the biggest problems that DNED is experiencing. Not that we have no capability to do modern weaponry, that we have no capacity to compete with others, and that when we are deployed in the world, we are the West. Far from it. We are one of the 3rd best defense force in the continent. That the researches that we are reading, go and check 3 top defense defense forces in the country. We're in the top 3. So we're not that bad. Not because we are telling you the truth about our challenges, then it means because we were honest, then we are the West. We're not the West. We're doing relatively well, but we know that we can still do better.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. The next follow-up question comes from the Honourable Farmer.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. Thank you, Honourable Minister. It seems as if some members of the DA in the Freedom Front Plus cannot come to grip with being in government. They seem to long back to the seats of the opposition. That's why they ask the questions in this fashion. Honourable Minister, with the geopolitical climate becoming increasingly volatile, will the department reprioritize strategic investments such as radar, mobility, and personnel readiness as part of recovery? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Farmer. Honourable Minister, your response.
No, thank you very much, Chair, and thank you very much. Yes, indeed. That's why I say every Monday, 7 o'clock, we meet to say, where are we in the country? What are the threats? What do we need to do? One of our biggest focus also is around your cybersecurity, about digitization and modern technology. So we're looking at that because you can even see from the current wars that are taking place that the art of war or the ways of fighting are extremely different, and therefore we have to look at different modalities for us to protect ourselves, protect from our skies, because we may not be attacked from the sea or be attacked from land, but we saw America attacking also with submarines from the sea. But the biggest danger is being attacked from the air. And that's one area we're focusing on. That's the one area we're looking at. And that's one area, you won't believe it, the South African's defense industry is also extremely endowed and powerful in terms of dealing with the air space and also with your military in terms of your as I say, your technology. So we are looking at that, Chair, and we are, as I say, constantly examining our own capabilities to see what more do we need to do as we are reprioritizing. So we're not only reprioritizing, making sure that we have events running on the ground, we're reprioritizing to make sure that we are in line with modern technology and also the way the war is being fought currently. And we're monitoring all the space to make sure that we ourselves are on the safe side in terms of partnerships, in terms of all other matters related to the industry that we're in. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. We now move on to the next question, and that is question 182 that was asked by Honorable Herika. And the question is, what strategies are in place to A, improve relationships, remove hostilities, and curb division between senior managers in a department's headquarters? Details were furnished. And B, digitalize filing system and manage a department that has a capacity to roll out benefits to all veterans. Honorable Minister, your response.
Thank you very much, Chair. Chair, let me assume that I will not be expected to respond to specific matters about the names that have been sent to us, because I was advised that it would be completely incorrect to really speak about those matters. But the truth of the questions that in the Department of Military Veterans, we found untold tensions between members, members also with also management and staff in the department. The department was very fractured. And because of the depth of the problem, we had to ask a separate department, like for instance, to ask DPSA to send us their team building teams to help the department or members to first heal so that we can build together with them. And that process has gone on. I think we've had more than 4 sessions, as I say, sessions where people were crying, sessions where people started talking to each other. We're not there as yet, but there is a healing process. So that we are doing very well. But the member is also quite right that the department, when we found it, was not only fractured, but the department also had very archaic ways, but also very poor accountability, exacerbated also by members of parliament. I have images of members of parliament convening in the Department of Military Veterans meetings, which were meant to undermine the senior management. And I have raised those matters with the members affected. And I am glad to say, ever since we discussed with those members of parliament, we're interfering with the department. Their visits to divide the departments have been reduced. In terms of what we are doing, because of the deep problems that the department had, I had to report that to the president to say the department is in such difficulties that it will not be able to deliver adequately to the people that, especially the military veterans. So with the deputy minister, we have established a transversal team, because we couldn't do it from one point. A transversal team first to look at registration. As I speak, we have a team that is supported by Defence Force and other parties, which is verifying registration. They're in Northwest as I speak. We're working with the Department of Technology to make sure that we can digitize our work, but also make sure that in terms of capturing, they can be able. We work with the pension fund section also of government. We also work, as I say, with health to deal with the needs. So under the guidance and support of the Deputy President, we have this transversal team, which is looking from HR matters, but also to your facilities in the department. The department has broken desks. They stay in a very dingy building. We're working with Public Works to fast track the acquisition of a better facility for the Department of Military Veterans. Yes, we're moving, maybe not fast enough, but I can tell you things are beginning to form, to fall in place. We can see green shoots in other areas. Colleagues in the department, those that are fighting, who have not been willing to talk and work with each other, are finding it in themselves willing or able to work. So yes, the rumors are true, but I'm not going to respond to the specific matters that are in the question for ethical reasons, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. We now move on to Honorable Kerika. Do you have a follow-up question?
Yes, Chair, I do have. Good afternoon. Minister, thank you for your answer. It is, however, concerning to note how the Department of Military Veterans, which is tasked with honoring and supporting South Africa's military veterans who sacrificed their lives for liberation, has been reduced to such dysfunctionality and mismanagement under your watch. Which time frames have been put in place to digitize filing systems and provide adequate management to this department? Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Kerika. Honorable Minister, your response?
Yeah, Chair, I don't want to defend under my watch, but when you get in, you own even the wrongs that you inherited. But in terms of time frames, as I said now, that what are the time frames? We're working, as I said, in the transversal team with different departments who work at different paces. The process has started, and we don't see the results coming overnight to say, therefore, we've solved all the problems. As I say, the verification team is not the West. They may take 3 months or 2 months. The team, disciplinary teams, the HR team from DPSA also is having its life. So I had requested the Deputy Minister to say other parts that are broken will be fixed as we move on, but others may take longer. For instance, that public works can get us a building, something which can happen quickly if they're able to do it. But we've given ourselves, to say at most 6 months should not end without any of those work streams finishing the work that they're doing. Because you are quite correct. It's very embarrassing because some of these military veterans, these people that we know as persons, and to see them struggling to get that which they deserve and they have the right to cannot be an easy pill to swallow. So that's why, with the support of the Deputy President, are working very hard to make sure that exactly the point that you are making, that we have to be able to honor them, we have to be able to look after them, but we have to, on our part, make sure that we have no excuses. We can do that which we're supposed to do. Some of the problems, as I said, we'll be coming back to Parliament, are things that are in legislation at the time of establishing the department. Now 10 years has passed since the department has been established. There is a need to relook at some of the things that would have been planned with experience and with hindsight should have been planned differently. Like the provision of housing, to say housing will be done through provincial departments. It's not working because if a province has no plan for housing this year, it means as a department, the way we have conceptualized it in legislation, it will not work. So we're also relooking from experience some of the provisions or some of the policies that would have put in place, which when you look back, don't necessarily serve the purpose that it was meant for. So we are also reviewing the Military Veterans Act. Time frames, let's work on 6 months. Others will be done in a month. Others will be done. I mean, the verification team, they're already in the Northwest. They could be back next week, but they will not have reached, for instance, Limpopo. So it's going to take its time. But what I think we should take as a takeaway, Chair, is that the process has started to fix the challenges that I inherited, not that I brought, that I inherited in the department. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. We now move on to the next question, and that's from the Honorable Mananiso.
Okay. Thank you, Deputy Chair, Honorable Minister, honorable members on the platform. Deputy Chair, let me thank the Minister for her swiftly responses. And Minister, I must assure you that if we have predetermined responses, we're not going to hear the honesty that you want to carry in terms of the work that you are doing. My question to you is that with regards to change management interventions, is this program yielding results so far? And if so, can you share with us Thank you, Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Mandaniso. Honorable Minister, your response to that question.
No, thank you very much. Thank you very much, member. You'll be surprised. When I got into the department, got a sense of the difficulties because we had all the different groupings talking to you about each other. I was terrified to say, how am I going to deal with this? But through the external intervention from DPSA, strange enough, they sent us some of their top professions. We did debriefing, healing, team building. I think since I came, we've had almost 6 sessions with the staff to help them go through their difficulties. In the meantime, deal with their issues that were in place, their grievances, their disciplinary matters. You'll be surprised, remember, that even people, at one workshop when we did a strategic plan and divided them into different commissions, others were saying, no, Minister, you're launching me this one. Help you broker a working relationship. They themselves were shocked that they were able to work together. It has improved a lot. Remember, there's still a lot to do, but we can give you reports of those different sessions that we've had with them in terms of the different strategies and programs that the DPSA in particular has assisted us in. So there is lots of progress. The School of Governance, the National School of Governance, they're extremely good and experienced, and they have even partners who are able to deal with different activities. But some of the people were cited to have they have post-traumatic, they have traumas, and they were able to help them through. Some of the people were just really ill-disciplined, and they were able to say, you have to deal with this person's disciplinary issues, and otherwise you won't run the department. But the long and short, member, the work that the National School of Governance has done in the department is amazing. Even the members themselves are amazed that they are able to move on and be more responsible workers, but also be able to be quite respectful towards each other. The situation was very bad when we got there. It was also violent. There have never been any incidents now of violence and people exchanging the blows in meetings, because that's how bad it was when we arrived there.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. The next follow-up question is from the Honorable Brits.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Chair. Honorable Minister, you failed to mention that the former Director General of the Department of Military Veterans, Tsepe Motsumi, left behind a trail of dysfunction and division in the department, that he is implicated in unlawful authorizing the misuse of 60 million rand in public funds while he was acting as the DG, and that he is now serving as your special advisor. Your strategies to fix the department cannot be taken seriously when they are being hatched on the advice of the very same ANC cadre who helped destroy the Department of Military Veterans. Therefore, it will require proper, constant oversight by Parliament. Minister, will you now give this House and the thousands of veterans that you failed a clear undertaking to stop wasting millions on litigation, luxury travel, and other excesses, and instead submit a detailed plan of action with timelines and spending priorities within 30 days to fix the Department of Military Veterans? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Brits. Honorable Minister, your response?
No, Chair, thank you very much. One should at this stage be used to the spewing of sometimes, I don't want to say bile, but the spewing of negative things and not face the matter. After Mr. Motsepe, in terms of my recollection, there were 3 other DGs. Bompolweni, there was there was also now to say 4 other heads of department are still struggling from a person who's left the department long ago and had gone into the National Department to show that Tshepe is a very smart person and well respected, whether ANC or not, but because of his capability, because of his history, but also because of his knowledge of the space. He was the advisor to the minister, to Minister Ngakula, Minister Sisulu, and also Minister Mudise, which confirms on the confidence that we have not only as ANC, but that we have as the different ministers in terms of his understanding and his knowledge of the space. And that's why we have him working with us. That I must make an undertaking in 20 days. I'm not going to make undertakings of things that I don't know. What I am, if you want to ask me specifically, what are we doing in terms of saving, we'll give you. What are we doing? We have an audit committee which is also working on budget prioritization. We'll give you a report, but not on questions of cadre development of the ANC, which are just the DA negativity. I can't commit here that in 30 days' time, I'll give you a report of what I just don't think I'll do that, and I don't think it's necessary, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. The next follow-up question is from the Honourable Peter. Honourable Peter, are you on the platform?
Yes, Chair, I'm on the platform.
Yeah, your follow-up question.
Good afternoon, Chair. Good evening also, Honourable Minister. UDM commend your department for the progress made in supporting military veterans, including the provision of pension to 1,500 veterans, healthcare service to over 17,000, and educational support to 3,600 dependents. These achievements are important and deserving of recognition, Honourable Minister. However, serious administrative challenges continue to undermine the well-being and dignity of many veterans. There are ongoing concerns around the high rejection rate of pension application, delays in the registration process, which take up to a year, and an inaccessibility or inaccuracy of service records. These issues particularly affect veterans from former Homeland Defense Forces, such as Transkei, Ciskei Defense Force, many of whom remains excluded from benefits due to incomplete or missing documents. Furthermore, will the department establish a dedicated, transparent, and time-bound review and appeals process for unresolved pension claims, particularly for those veterans and dependents who have been waiting for decades? I thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honourable Peter. Honourable Minister, your response.
No, thank you very much, Chair. And let me thank Honourable Peter for acknowledging some of the good work that the department is doing, and also what the officials that are doing, so that it's not all doom and gloom. Yes, there are challenges, and the member is pronouncing them, is mentioning them correctly. When I mentioned the question of the verification team, Member Peter, is to deal exactly with the question of the database, because the database has a number of people who are not supposed to be on the database, and it's not quite clear how they landed there. But the database also needs, there are people who are supposed to be incorporated in the database. So the verification teams are moving around in provinces, but you'll be surprised how the wannabe veterans are there, so that because of unemployment, everybody goes and registers. So it's a very tedious and a long process to verify, but a very important process that we're fast tracking. So we're quite aware and conscious of the pain and the suffering. And as I say, even legislation has to be looked at, because in terms of the Military Veterans Act, you find that the department only supports member. When the member goes and passes away, unlike other benefits, then the members' wives and children become indigent, they are not assisted. But you also find that members who were integrated in the Defense Force, Member Peter, who had been given their pensions, who would not qualify to get the benefits of military veterans are applying. The level of rejection is high because there's also people who come wrongly. There are people who would have left the defense force, were integrated, went to even going to businesses, were accumulating. So in the review, while we're also looking at the means test to say if indeed you have the means to look after yourself and we can prove that you have a pension from the defense force, you can't come and claim also from the military veterans because the resources are limited. It's not that because you were a soldier, therefore you should be able to be assisted. So the verification process is doing that, but the legal review also is to look at the areas that have created the current challenges. In terms even of education, you have lots of people who just keep on registering kids. And if you declare, as Mr. Member Pitu said, this child is mine, who's going to say the child is not yours? And those are the things that also which depleted the resources of the Department of Military Veterans, that some people erroneously get into the system, but some people who should not be benefiting because they can't look after themselves are benefiting from the system. So the verification that I'm speaking about that is on the roads is doing that. And indeed, you'll be surprised. There's only in half the time, only 25% approvals. You find that the 75% it's wannabe veterans who don't qualify and who are not even supposed to apply. So it's a parallel process. We're removing those that came onto the database by mistake. We're looking at really making sure that legislation allows us to remove people that have the means to look after themselves, who have pensions, but have also make sure, as you correctly say, that we have to make sure that we are able to benefit people who are desperate, because there are desperate veterans who have to be supported. Thank you.
Thank you very
Chair.
much. Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. That brings us to the end of question 182. We now move on to question 187 that was asked by Honourable Lekwase. And the question was, what measures are in place to A, accelerate, and B, fairly finalize the verification process of military veterans, as there are ongoing concerns regarding discrepancies in recognizing veterans from former liberation movements such as Umkhonto Wesizwe and Azanian People's Liberation Army. Honourable Minister, your response to that?
No, Chair, respectfully, it's what partly I was explaining to the previous member, to say we have a team from the Military Veterans Department supported by the Defence Force. We've taken some of our staff in the Defence Force to reinforce administratively the team that is doing verification. And the team that's doing verification has members of the liberation movement as part of the team, but it also have people who come also from your old statutory forces also on the team. They are in Northwest and they're doing the road shows. And I say it's very tedious because you have to interview people, you have to prove that they are or they are not. And that's the team I was talking about, to say even your levels of rejection or acceptance are very high because even people who are not supposed to be applying are applying. So the team is on the road as we speak. As I said, they've been to Northwest last week. We'd expect that they stay in a province for 2 weeks, do work and move to the next province. And we do expect that the latest by September, they should have done the verification. And the other group that is supposed to identify people who are not supposed to be on the database has done that. And we can engage with them because we need to remove them to find space for the legitimate veterans. As things stand, the pension fund gets depleted overnight because you're paying more than you should be paying. You're paying people that you're not supposed to be paying. The same thing with the education funds. They get depleted because, as I say, on an ongoing basis, children are introduced as dependents onto the military veterans database, and that we're dealing with. So the answer, Chair, is similar to the answer I gave previously, to say we are on the road shows, we're dealing with that. We go province by province. We've completed, I think, the Free State. Now we are in the Northwest, and we're also doing parallel processes also in Gauteng. and members will be updated if they want us to give reports on an ongoing basis to say what are our findings in Northwest, how many people have we taken on and how many people have we removed, so that we're able to put on board the members that are outside but qualify and have not been registered because there are no funds to pay them immediately.
Thank you very much,
Thank you,
Honourable
Chair.
Minister. Honourable Ekwase, do you have a follow-up question?
Yes, Deputy Chair, and thank you and good afternoon to your good selves. Honourable Minister, thanks for the comprehensive response. I was aware that you partly responded to my question from the previous question that was asked. But I'm going to request that on the follow-up, you provide us with an update on the specific steps being taken to ensure that the experiences and sacrifices of these military veterans are accurately reflected in the verification process. And furthermore, give us an insight on what mechanisms are in place to address potential grievances or appeals from veterans who may feel that their contributions have not been adequately recognized. Thank you very much, Honourable Chair.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Honourable Ekwase. Honourable Minister, your response to that question?
No, Chair, I'm more than willing that maybe give us 30 days and we will provide the report that the member is asking for. And I'm aware that the officials from the department are on the platform or are watching from wherever, so that we are able to provide the information maybe in 30 days' time, so that when we give you, don't give you too many piecemeals. By 30 days, we'll have visited at least 2 provinces, so we can update you as to where we are and what is that we're doing, so we can be able to do it in writing, Chair.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. We now move on to the next follow-up question, and that's from the Honourable Bosch.
Thank you very much, Honourable Deputy Chair. Good afternoon, Minister. Minister, ten spyte van herhaalde verbintenisse in die wet op militêre veterane en die departement se eie jaarlikse prestasieplanne, sleep die verifikasieproses al langer as 'n dekade aan, met slegs sowat 20,000 veterane wat geverifieer is uit meer as 86,000 aansoeke. Meer as 66,000 is dus steeds sonder erkenning, baie van hulle uit bevrydingsbewegings soos MK en APLA. Minister, watter gevolgbestuur is daar vir diegene wat vir die vertraging verantwoordelik is, en wanneer sal die departement 'n openbare, geauditeerde finale lys publiseer met 'n deursigtige appelproses vir die wat onregverdig uitgesluit is? Thank you, Deputy Chair.
Thank you very much, Honourable Boshoff. Honourable Minister, your response?
No, Chair, I only heard when the member was saying thank you. So ha ke utlwa handle rona re na ne kopa re le mphe monyetla wa re ke kope gore ba recording ba mphe ntho na mpotso na mpotsa yona mme ke tla mo araba empa ke a mo utlwa ho hang. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. We now move on to the next follow-up question, and that's from the Honourable Harris.
Yes, thank you very much, Chairperson. I think my question are very similar to the previous questions. Minister, what steps have you been taken to ensure transparency and impartiality in the verification of panel or committee? And how are appeals or disputes by excluded veterans from former liberation movements being handled? And then, Honourable Minister, I would also like to request us that those veterans that are in far rural areas, what measures do you have in place to ensure that that veterans is also being reached to also get the benefits of this military veterans? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Oh, sorry,
Honourable,
sorry, Chair.
No problem, Honorable
No,
Minister.
I'm very sorry, Chair. Yeah.
I know you are eager to answer those questions. So now
No,
I'll hand
thank you,
over to
Chair.
you to answer. Honorable Minister, your response.
No, thank you, Chair. Chair, let me start with the last question about how do we reach out. There are provincial offices, but as you will know that provinces are vast, you may not be able to reach even your deep rural. The verification teams move to provinces and move district by district. That's why they take so long. In terms of transparency, it's an integrated team, which, as I say, have your APLA, your MK, also your Azania, but also have your old pre freedom teams that were there under the different homelands. So it is a broad team that makes sure that there is transparency, but there's also fairness, but there's also support for each other, because I'm told they work as a very coherent team themselves and a very mature team. So there is transparency. We can even give you the names and the profile of the verification team. What Defense Force does, it only gives them the secretariat to support the work that they do in terms of logistics, in terms of traveling, in terms of security. But the main team is really not the departmental team, but it is an integrated team. So in terms of fairness, I think the team has been done with that in mind. In terms of transparency, it's that. In terms of how the complaints or those that have been rejected are dealt with, there is an appeals team which then will come back. And from the reports I got from the Free State, even with the appeals, those who came from appeals, because the team is very thorough, you'll find that it's really appealing what is not that cannot be successfully appealed, but they're still giving space to appeal. So again, member, Chair, through you, we could just give from where we've been and how many applicants we had, how many were declined, how many were approved, and those that were declined, what were the reasons for declining, and what would have happened when they were not happy with the outcome. So we could give you a sample response that shows you how the team works from the provinces that they've completed. It won't be a national work because it's work in progress. In other provinces, the verification team has not come. But as I say, it takes long because it has to go deep into the different parts of the country to reach out to those communities. But it also works through structures that, for instance, PSC people will be even mobilized, informed by their old structures. But as you say, some where people were coming from the whole old homeland governments may not be linked to an organization, but all forms of notification are tried to make sure that as many people as possible are reached. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. I see the hands of Honorable Boshoff and Honorable Badenhorst. Honorable Boshoff.
Chair, if I could lower my hand and ask Honorable Badenhorst to do so, to ask the question, thank you.
Okay, Honorable Badenhorst.
Yeah, thank you very much. Sorry, video, is it just off because of my connectivity issues in Parliament? Chair, just a point of order, 228, if I may, please, Rule 228.
Yes, go ahead.
Chair, thank you very much for your indulgence. I didn't hear the Honourable Minister answering the question of Honourable Boshoff. I'm sorry if my connectivity is bad, but I didn't hear that answer from the Minister. I just heard she said she heard the greeting. So could we please get translation services to oblige and get the Honourable Minister to please answer the question, Honourable Chair? Thank you very much.
No, thank you very much, Honorable Badenhorst. I was also trying to check whether the translation services was in place, and I'll get some feedback now with regard to that. If you will indulge me, let me move on to the next question, and then we will get the translation, and hopefully then the Minister will be able to answer that question from Honorable Boshoff.
Thank you, Chair.
The next question is from the Honorable Van den Berg.
Thank you, Chair. I thought I was going to be the last question of the day, but it seems that we're going to. Minister, I know that you haven't been a normal parliamentarian for a couple of years, but I need to inform you that we are actually still using buses to go to Parliament. Also, if the Air Force can only serve internal situations, then we become a rescue service and not a force. Maybe able to save the member from the PA when he gets swept away by the force of reality. Here's my question. As a veteran myself, with an injury stemming from military service, will the old South African Defence Force soldiers also be honoured in the same way as MK and APLA soldiers? Where was this where were they invited to apply? And then what if a veteran becomes needy in 2 years from now? Can they still apply then? I hope you treat it as one question because it follows to the process. Thank you. That's all.
Honourable van den Berg, you were a bit unclear at some stages of your question, but I don't know whether the Minister heard your questions. Honourable Minister, did you get the full question? Will you respond?
I hope so. I did hear some, and even the curveballs about buses to Parliament from parliamentary villages. I mean, jumping a bus from Gauteng to Cape Town. That's what I'm talking about. Because people were saying people must fly all over the place, must get off a private plane. That's what I was talking about. So I was not talking about parliamentary buses. I mean, it's common sense that people don't fly from the villages to Parliament. So I was not referring to that member. But in terms of then what are the provisions for South African National Defence Force? Chair, let me find out really what are the provisions that are there for the old Defence Force, because they actually, the biggest gripe also, they benefit far much better because they are streamlined, they're in the system. When they have forced numbers, unlike the others who don't have forced numbers that we have to register. Those that were in the old Defence Force are normally very easy to service because they are in the system. If you look at these military hospitals, they service those even more than your apply, your MK, because they don't have your forced numbers. So the registration is to give them the forced numbers. So those are well provided for. But before I can say when you have a broken foot and when you are poor in 2 years' time, what is the provision? Chair, I don't have the answer right now. I can ask the office to give me an answer. Then I will say what happens then to Defence Force members who become indigent in 2 years' time, when in the past 30 years they were not indigent. When they suddenly become indigent, what happens? I can bring the answer to say whether they go on SASA or they remain on their pension as former soldiers who have ongoing benefits as former soldiers. But Chair, give me a chance to go and get an exact answer to the old SADF member who becomes bankrupt after 30 years of independence. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. We now go back to the question that was asked by Honourable Boshoff, and I am told that there is translation available. If the Honourable Minister can click on an icon at the bottom of the screen that's either got a round circle that looks like the world, or there might be a icon that says more with 3 dots on it. If you can click on that, and then there's a icon that says interpretation.
Hey, I'm using a handset which is not allowing me to maneuver a lot here. I'm using a handphone. It's not assisting me. I'm sorry, Chair. I did explain that I have a problem with the gadget. So I'm using a gadget. I can't see that icon here. And when I move the bottom of my gadget, it just disappears. So maybe if the member
Honourable
can
Minister,
ask,
if I can ask Honourable Boshoff if she can rephrase a question in English, please. Maybe that would help us. moving forward. Honorable Boshoff, I see your hand.
Yes,
Are you able to
Honourable
assist us?
Deputy Chair, I was going to suggest that, so let me do it in English for you.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right. Despite repeated commitments in the Military Veterans Act and the department's own annual performance plans, the verification process has dragged on for over a decade, with only around 20,000 veterans verified out of more than 86,000 applications, meaning over 66,000 are still without recognition, many of them from liberation movements such as MK and UPLA. What I would like to know from the Minister is what consequence management is in place for those responsible for this delay, and when will the department publish a public audited final list with a transparent appeals process for those who have been unfairly excluded? Thank you, Chair. Deputy Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Boshoff. Honorable Minister, will you be able to respond to that question?
No, yes, I will be. And thanks to Member Boshoff for helping me with translations into English. And I was not refusing to answer because I thought if she speaks in Afrikaans without giving me notification, I might as well speak in Sesotho. But I'm glad that she's assisted me with translation. Chair, in terms of, I did indicate, Chair, that the verification process is underway. It had its own starts and stops. Even as I joined the department, I found that the starts and stops, because one of the things that we found in the department, they wanted to do verification, they didn't have a budget thereof. That's why I had to ask the Defense Force to say, can you assist us with administration, because this process has to happen. So I'm not able to say, after the decades of verification which has not been completed, this current process, when is it going to come to an end? It's a very slow process. Already there are screams and cries about people that have not been rejected. But I can promise Member Boshoff and members that as soon as, it's either we do it half mean, as soon as the process is done, we'll be able to come back to them. So I'm not able to say we'll be done in 3 months, we'll be done. I had requested that let's be done in 6 months' time, because the ongoing challenges of veterans that qualify, some of them are even dying without even getting their benefits, and leave their families in abject poverty. So it is important for us as the department to finalize the verification process. That I've emphasized many times, to say we have to finalize the process. And I can promise the member that as soon as we get information, we'll do that. In terms of the appeals, the process will submit the report, has the team, has the administration, has the appeals. And she's right that 86 would have applied, 86,000. And I can tell you from the 86 that has applied, that has not been verified, almost 20% or 40% of them have been rejected. It's wannabes. It's people who want to be a veteran. It's people who strangely got into the database, because what struck me, Member Boshoff, when I also got into it's when you have veterans who are 45 years, when by 1994, I'm sure there would have been some, if they're 35, 45, they would not have been 30 years back, or they would not have been born, but they're veterans. And even to find that, to say, how do we have young veterans in a department where you expect at least it will be your elderly people who are in the defense, either from APLA or MK, or even Azania, or even the previous Homeland Defense Forces. Because some of the people who even apply from the Homeland Defense Forces, these people who are integrated, who have their pensions, they apply. And they don't qualify even by terms of the definition of people who were not in the force, who don't have the force number. Those who have force numbers are supposed to be getting their pensions elsewhere. But to really answer more specifically, because this is a follow-up question, Chair, I will not have had all the facts to say how many were accepted, how many were rejected. what was the appeals process. Again, I can furnish the member a report in English, not in Sesotho, because she helped me to speak in English so that we have a common point of departure.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister, for accommodating that question. And thank you to Honourable Boshoff for also rephrasing the question into English. Honourable delegates, I'd like to thank Honourable Mocheka, the Minister, for availing herself to answer questions today. I want to thank the Honourable MECs, all permanent and special delegates and SALGA representatives for availing themselves for the sitting. That brings us to the end of the questions for today. But before I close the session, Honourable members, Honourable delegates, I'd like to inform the House that earlier today, before the sitting could start, the Honourable Chairperson of the NCOP, Honourable Hadebe, House Chair, as well as Honourable Billy, the leader of the KZN delegation to the NCOP, Advocate Pendela, and myself, we visited the home of the late Honourable Ngobo to pay our respects on behalf of all of you from the NCOP, including our staff and researchers. The family was very, very grateful that we made the time to go there and spend some time with them and to offer our condolences and support during this time of bereavement. And I thought it's appropriate that I inform members that we did that on your behalf earlier today. Having said that, honourable members, that concludes the business of the day. The House is now adjourned.
Long live Deputy Chair.
Stopped. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Chairperson.
Thank you, honourable colleagues. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy
Chair.
Everybody. Bye.